Hello everyone, welcome back to Reddit now. I of course am your host Peter, and today we're going to be looking at some posts from r/ProRevenge. So, make sure you're subscribed and let's get into it. We begin with a story from user Senalaria. My uncle took revenge on behalf of my parents. As the title gives away, this didn't happen to me, but is the story of how my uncle avenged my parents. My parents had me when they were plenty young. They were not teens anymore, but they had barely left that age bracket. My mum and dad met in college, which was also where they had me. So, while my parents were in their courses, I mostly stayed with my grandparents. The whole family lives in the same area, and the college was not that far away. My parents were still young and liked to go out with friends on occasion. When the following happened, I was a few years old. On occasion, they frequented a bar. A drunk guy there groped my mum and did not take a no as a no. My dad intervened and stopped the guy, and half an hour later all seemed forgotten. The music was loud, the bar crowded, and then someone in the crowd hit my dad with an empty glass pitcher square in the face. He was bleeding profusely and collapsed, but in the press, semi-darkness and over the music, no one knew who did it. My dad was taken to the hospital. He had a broken nose and a heavy concussion. He also couldn't see who had attacked him, and his memory, between the alcohol and being hit in the head, was also very fuzzy. Of course, they had considered the guy who had harassed my mum, but they didn't know him, nor did they see him anywhere leading up to the moment, let alone have any evidence. So they pressed charges against unknown, but there was virtually nothing anyone could do. But then, a few days later, the piece of crap that had harassed my mum approached her on campus. Turns out he was in the same college as my parents. He made a few veiled comments and left little doubt that it had been him who hit my dad in the face, and the piece of garbage let my mum know that my dad next time should mind his manners, and that the little touching he had done didn't hurt anyone and wasn't that bad, and if he wanted to do it again, he would, and maybe more. And then the little piece of crap went on his merry way. My mum was horrified, of course. She went home and told my grandparents, my dad and his parents. But no one could do anything. It was all a he said, she said deal after all. And my mum hadn't even gotten the guy's name. My mum cried a lot all the time and didn't know what to do. She was also afraid of going to classes or out alone. I honestly only remember that time very scarcely. I was just a little kid. But I can remember my dad in the hospital and him with his broken nose. My mum crying a lot. My dad, of course, was just angry and humiliated like my mum. No one knew what to do, and everyone was just treading on eggshells around each other. But this is where my uncle enters the stage. My uncle, my mum's brother, lived on the other side of the country. He was a private investigator and he was, of course, the last to hear the full story. But the moment he heard someone had threatened his little sister, he was on his way home. After hearing the full story, my uncle knew it would likely be hard to get the guy on harassment, the assault, or the threats having no evidence. My uncle had my mum point the guy out from afar on campus. It took a few days to find him, but then my uncle started to stalk that piece of human filth. My uncle took sick days, all his vacation, and invested every second possible to find out everything about the harasser. My uncle even approached the pig in another bar and became drinking buddies with him. Over several weeks, my uncle had uncovered all manners of illicit behaviour, possession, consumption and distribution of rugs, theft and a few other misdemeanors and small-time stuff, and my uncle could have put him away for that. But my uncle always said when asked about it that if he sent the a-hole to prison, it would be for molesting my mum and hurting my dad, and that is what he did. One night, out with his new buddy drinking, my uncle made the idiot piss drunk and they landed in my uncle's motel room. He got the harasser to incriminate himself on video, rattling off a list of illegal stuff he was up to. My uncle, of course, had pretended to be a crook too. Among the stories the a-hole told was the story of how he groped some chick and brained her dude with a pitcher of beer. Now, something needs to be said. In my country, of course, recording someone in secret is illegal and, under some conditions, like if the police do it, is not a permissible piece of evidence in the court. But as a private investigator, my uncle knew the laws for that exactly. But paradoxically, the situation is different if it's not only audio, but also video, and my uncle had the a-hole on camera confessing. The next day, my uncle turned himself into the police with all his collected evidence, because secretly filming people was still a crime, though the video could still be used as evidence in the court as my uncle was not affiliated with the police or any other governmental agency. When the criminal and civil trials were over, the a-hole got 6 years in prison and had to pay damages to my mum and dad, and my uncle got slapped with the equivalent of a $2,000 fine for secretly filming the a-hole. Money well spent, he always said. Now, I've added literally the most controversial comment on the post, but I think it spread some light on the whole situation, hence why I added it to the video. User Taco Pie says, 6 years in prison is no joke, but the biggest revenge here may be destroying this guy's sense of trust. He's gonna be second guessing every new friend he makes for the rest of his life. If he knows what's good for him, he should think twice about his decisions every time he gets pissed drunk. Now, just before we move on to the final story of the video, if you could please make sure you hit subscribe and the bell, as only around 9% of you are. Up next we have a post from Redberry, sticking a girl who's been using me with a fat bill. I've really liked this girl for a while, that I met at a lifeguard certification course. I talked to her while I was there, and we, I thought, ended up hitting it off. We exchanged numbers and social media and all that, and we messaged for a few weeks before I asked her out to a movie, which she accepted. We'd been going on casual dates, nothing too serious, and we weren't hanging out at my place or her place, even though I'd hinted at the idea, for a few weeks before one of her friends, someone that was also at the lifeguarding course that I met and kept in contact with because he was cool, sends me this screenshot. So, aren't you and so-and-so going out now? Not really, but as long as he keeps paying for everything, I'll let him take me out more. Girl has to eat. Oh, why you gotta do him like that? Shrug. He said he felt bad for me because I was nice and that she does this often to other dudes. After seeing this, I asked her to go on a date with me to a hibachi grill restaurant. $20 to $40 plates and premium desserts are served here. I got the most expensive thing they had, and so did she. We both got fancy ice cream and multiple refills on the drinks. I complimented her a lot and smiled consistently, before getting up and going to the bathroom and leaving. I was also her ride. About 45 minutes after, I get furious texts from her saying that she had to come down and have her mum pay for it because she didn't have the money on her and that we were done. I know it's not a lot and it sucks because I thought she was actually into me, but it felt pretty nice leaving her that way. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end of this Reddit Now video. Since you made it this far, I'd say you enjoyed the video, so if you could show that by leaving a like down below, that would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, you can click on one of the videos on your screen right now to be taken to some similar content, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.